Mahakumbh 2025, the world's biggest religious gathering, had turned into a nightmare. Stampede, death, and a terror attack that no one is talking about. But why? Let's unmask the shocking truth.
कम से कम 7-8 टिकट गए।
कार्ड यहाँ पे लावारिस है, इसका मतलब ये लोग कहाँ चले गए?
हम लोग उठा रहे हैं, गिर रहे हैं, लोग कितने कुचल भी गए।
On Feb 2025, lakhs of devotees had gathered to take a sacred dip. But the real crowd was built a month before on Jan 29th, the day of Mauni Amavasya. More than 10 crore people had come to the Sangam, the meeting point of Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati rivers. And around 2 a.m., the crowd started pushing forward, and the barricades which were supposed to control the people broke under the pressure. And this created the panic everywhere. People pushed and tried to move forward, not knowing what was happening. Many fell to the ground and could not get up. Women, elderly people and children screamed for help, but no one could hear them. The police came to control the situation, but the damage was already done. And by the time everything was settled, many lives were lost. And this is not the first time something like this had happened at Kumbh. In fact, the history keeps repeating itself. Back in 1954, a stampede at Kumbh killed 800 people. This scale of tragedy was so massive that even the Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, who was present at that event, could do nothing to stop it. And in 1968, another stampede at Kumbh in Haridwar killed 200 people. And in 2013, at Prayagraj railway station, a footbridge collapsed, killing 42 people. And every time something like this happens, the same questions are being repeated. Why do these keep happening? And why there are never enough safety for the crowds? And why do authorities react only after a disaster? Mahakumbh is one of the biggest religious gatherings in the world, and it takes place once in every 144 years in Prayagraj, Uttar Pradesh. Many people come from different places to be a part of this holy event. Some come by train, some come by bus, and many even walk for miles. And no matter how they arrive, they all are here for the same reason, to take a dip in a holy waters. For many, it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a moment of deep faith and devotion. But this time, something terribly went wrong.
अचानक भीड़ आ गई सर। हम जा रही थी आराम से हम जा रही थी सर। अचानक भीड़ आके ऐसा धक्का मुक्का चला।
The media reported that 30 people died in the stampede, but the videos on the social media tells entirely a different story.
ट्रैक्टर भर करके यहाँ से कपड़े, लत्ते, चप्पल सब कुछ ले जाया जा रहा है। भगदड़ के जो निशानियाँ हैं उसको हटाया जा रहा है।
कम से कम 7-8 टिकट गए।
ये तस्वीरें छिपाई जाएंगी। जो ये गवाही है बताएगा इसकी कोई जिम्मेदारी लेगा कि नहीं लेगा।
And the people who were present there says that the number was much more higher than what was being reported. And some witnesses even claim that there were dozens of lifeless bodies being taken away, and yet the official death toll was fixed at 30. While people were trying to process this disaster, something even more shocking happened. At Juicy, another stampede broke out, and this news barely made it to the public. Reports suggested that there were many deaths, but there is no official statement to it. And it didn't stop there. Inside a fair at a Haldiram store, thousands of people rushed in looking for shelter. And the store owner tried his best to control the crowd, but it was impossible. And in all this chaos, the store was completely looted. 1,80,000 went missing from the cash counter. And the shocking part was, not even a single policeman arrived for help. Not for 1 hour, not for 2 hours, but for 4 straight long hours. By the time things were settled, all the damage were done. And just like before, authorities were nowhere to be found. For Mahakumbh 2025, the government allocated 7,500 crore to ensure smooth arrangements. And yet, there were not enough ambulances, there were not enough doctors or emergency medical services. And there were no proper shelter for common men or middle class people. Instead, all these facilities were reserved to VVIPs.
यहाँ पर आए स्नानार्थी 2 तरह के क्यों हैं?
कोई नहीं जाएगा, मत जाने से।
एक VIP क्यों है और एक जनरल क्यों है?
कुंभ में से क्या ऊपर नेता को दिखाना है कि इतनी भीड़ हम कुंभ में आई है? किसकी वजह से इतने सारे पुल किनकी वजह से बना है? पब्लिक के पैसे से बना है और क्यों आने दे रहे हैं? अगर वीआईपी के लिए है तो पुल ही ना रखे।
They received everything they wanted. They arrived in grand cars, they received a private security, they even had a special access for the river for the holy dip. While the devotees were struggling to find a space, these VVIPs, they moved without any trouble. Of course, the security is important for them, I'm not denying it. But should it come at a cost of a common man's safety? In the middle of all this, another shocking event happened. On Jan 19, 2025, two-cylinder explosion occurred at Mahakumbh. Later, the Khalistan Zindabad force claimed responsibility for it, and luckily, no one were harmed. But what's alarming is that such dangerous situation barely made highlights on news. A terror attack attempt at a world's largest gatherings should have been the major news, right? But instead of focusing on this real tragedy, the media choose to highlight on Mona Lisa and IIT Baba for their own TRPs. Every time a disaster like this happens, people say they should have never happened, and yet it keeps happening. Faith brings millions of people to Mahakumbh, and the mismanagement turns it into a disaster. If we don't ask questions, if we don't demand for a better planning, then tragedies like this will keep happening. To be fair, not everything went wrong. Compared to the previous Kumbh Melas, this time the facilities were much better. The technology was really helpful, and the drone kept an eye on crowd, and the LED screens helped them to give the direction to make the moment easier. Sanitation was also done well. The staffs kept cleaning often, but it was hard to maintain because the public didn't use it properly. The government can make all the arrangements, but people also have a duty to follow the rules. If we throw all the garbage anywhere and ignore all the basic hygiene and don't respect the public spaces, then no amount of cleaning staff will keep the area clean. I really hope that the stampedes like this should never happen again in the future, and that no one loses their loved ones, and that no one gets separated from their families at Mahakumbh. This should be a sacred and a peaceful place, and not for a place of chaos and disaster. I also hope that Mahakumbh visitors return home safely with good memories. Thanks for watching till the end, and please subscribe to our channel for more such unfiltered talks and content. Have you been to Mahakumbh? Please do let me know in the comments below. I'll see you in the next time. Until then, keep watching. Satyamev Jayate.